Ladies and gentlemen delivered with calm authority, steady pacing, and fire underneath the words. Let me tell you something. There are 5 dangerous women in this world. And I ain't talking about danger in the way you think. I'm not talking about what's on the news. Not scandal, not seduction, not some movie script. I'm talking about power, real power. The kind that don't ask for permission. The kind that doesn't knock. She kicks the door in. The first is a woman who knows who she is. You hear me? Not who society says she should be. Not who her past told her she was. But who she truly is. A woman like that can't be fooled, bought, or broken. You try to define her, she'll redefine the game. The second is a woman who walks alone, but not lonely. She don't need a crowd to be loud. She doesn't need applause to feel worthy. She moves through silence like a storm in stillness. People fear her not because she's cold, but because she's complete. The third is a woman who has failed and got back up. You know what I'm talking about. Life knocked her down. Maybe it broke her heart. Maybe it broke her spirit. But she didn't stay down. She rebuilt herself from rubble. She walks with a limp, but it's the limp of a warrior. The fourth is a woman who speaks the truth, especially when it's hard. Not for attention, not for drama, but because the truth matters more to her than comfort. You can't bribe her with popularity. You can't silence her with shame. She don't raise her voice because her words already shake the ground. And the fifth, the most dangerous of all, is a woman who loves herself, not in arrogance, not in vanity, but in deep, quiet reverence. She don't compare. She don't compete. She's not waiting for someone to tell her she's enough because she already knows. So yes, there are 5 dangerous women. They don't carry weapons. They carry wisdom. They don't fight for power. They are power. And if you ever cross paths with one, you'll know. Not because she roared, but because the world changed just a little when she walked in the room. A woman who knows who she is carries a power that goes beyond the surface, beyond appearances, or the roles society tries to pin on her. This kind of knowing is not something that comes from a simple definition or a label handed down by others. It's a deep, unshakable understanding that grows from within. A quiet confidence that doesn't need to shout to be heard. When a woman knows who she is, she stands grounded in her own truth, rooted in her values, her experiences, and the lessons life has carved into her soul. This knowledge isn't static. It's alive and evolving, shaped by reflection and honesty, by the courage to confront her own fears and doubts without running away. It's a mirror held up with clear eyes, seeing herself not as a perfect being, but as a whole one, with strengths and weaknesses, light and shadow. Knowing who she is means she doesn't allow others to define her worth or her path. She understands that identity is not a costume you put on for others' approval, but a sanctuary where she can rest without pretense. This woman doesn't bend to the pressure of fitting in or meeting expectations that don't align with her heart. She recognizes the difference between adapting and compromising. She adapts to grow and learn, but never compromises the core of who she is for temporary comfort or approval. That's a dangerous kind of strength. It means she walks through the world with a steady compass. When challenges come, as they always do, she doesn't lose herself in the storm. She remains anchored because the foundation of her identity is built on something unbreakable. She knows her worth, not because she's been told it, but because she's earned it through trials, mistakes, and victories. This isn't about arrogance or entitlement. It's about respect. Respect for herself and for what she has endured and overcome. It's a kind of dignity that can't be shaken by criticism or rejection because it's not dependent on others' opinions. When you meet a woman like this, you sense it immediately. It's in the way she carries herself, the way her eyes hold calmness even in chaos, the way her voice carries conviction without aggression. She doesn't need to prove herself to anyone because she already knows her value. This deep self-awareness also means she recognizes her flaws without letting them define her. She has looked into her own mirror with honesty, not fear. She understands that imperfections are part of the human experience, not a reason to shrink back or hide. Instead of being trapped by doubt, she uses that knowledge to grow. She forgives herself for mistakes and learns from them, knowing that growth requires humility and patience. Done. This acceptance allows her to move forward with grace, not weighed down by regrets or the need for perfection. A woman who knows she is also understands her boundaries, what she will accept and what she won't. She has learned to say no without guilt to protect her energy and peace. Done. This clarity comes from a deep respect for herself and the understanding that boundaries are not walls to isolate, but bridges to healthy relationships and authentic connection. She doesn't waste time or energy on those who don't value her or on situations that compromise her integrity. Her self-knowledge acts as a shield against manipulation, coercion, and negativity. It empowers her to choose wisely who she lets into her life and who she keeps at a distance. This woman embraces her uniqueness without apology. She doesn't try to fit a mold crafted by someone else's standards. She knows that her voice, her style, her dreams, and her spirit are valid simply because they belong to her. This kind of acceptance is rare and powerful. It inspires others to do the same, to stop comparing, to stop trying to be what they're not, and to celebrate their authentic selves. When a woman fully owns who she is, she becomes a beacon for those who have lost their way or forgotten their own worth. She lights a path, not by leading a crowd, but by being a vivid example of what it means to live truthfully. This knowing also gives her resilience. Life will challenge her, try to knock her off balance, but she comes back to herself, to her essence, every time. She has an internal sanctuary that no external circumstance can invade. When the world questions her, dismisses her, or tries to diminish her, she doesn't fall apart. Instead, she leans deeper into her identity, reaffirming her beliefs, her values, and her dreams. This is not stubbornness, but faith. Faith in herself and the journey she's on. It's a commitment to authenticity that holds even when it's uncomfortable or lonely. When she encounters criticism or misunderstanding, she listens with discernment. She knows the difference between constructive feedback and destructive judgment. She doesn't shut down, but she doesn't let negativity define her either. Instead, she chooses to grow where there is truth and let go where there is noise. This balance comes from the steady foundation of knowing herself. She is neither fragile nor brittle. She is flexible, rooted, and ever expanding. She is dangerous because this self-knowledge makes her unpredictable in the best way. You can't easily box her in or write her off. She won't conform to your expectations or play the role you want her to play. Instead, she challenges norms by simply being herself. Boldly, unapologetically, and without hesitation. This kind of power unsettles those who rely on control or fear difference. It scares those who want her to be less than what she is because her presence is a constant reminder that freedom starts with knowing oneself. This woman understands that her identity is not fixed by the past, the opinions of others, or the circumstances around her. It is fluid, evolving, and resilient. She is both the question and the answer, the storm and the calm. In knowing who she is, she has found the ultimate form of freedom, the freedom to be, to grow, and to stand tall in her truth. A woman who walks alone, but not lonely, carries a profound strength that many fail to understand. She moves through the world with a quiet confidence, unafraid of solitude, because she has discovered that being alone does not mean being empty. There is a difference between loneliness and solitude. One is a state of isolation filled with longing. The other is a choice, a powerful space where a woman finds herself whole and complete. This woman has learned to embrace her own company, to sit with her thoughts and feelings without distraction or fear. She does not need the validation of a crowd or the constant noise of companionship to feel alive. Instead, she values the clarity that comes from walking her path independently, trusting her intuition and her judgment. She understands that walking alone is not a sign of weakness or rejection. It is a declaration of self-sufficiency and inner peace. When she steps out into the world on her own, she is not searching for someone to fill a void. She is already filled with purpose, with self-respect, and with the knowledge that she can stand firm no matter what life throws her way. This kind of independence requires courage. It means making decisions without leaning on others for approval or support. It means facing challenges head on without the safety net of a partner, a friend, or a crowd. Yet she does it because she trusts herself, because she has built an unshakable foundation that doesn't crumble under pressure or uncertainty. This woman values her solitude because in it she finds creativity, healing, and growth. When she walks alone, she has the space to listen deeply to her inner voice, to her dreams, and to the lessons life offers. She is not afraid of silence because she knows that silence speaks truths that noise often drowns out. In solitude, she can reflect on her experiences without distraction, learning from both her successes and her mistakes. This is where her resilience is forged, in moments of quiet reflection and honest self-examination. Walking alone allows her to be honest with herself in ways that are impossible in the chaos of constant connection. She also understands that walking alone does not mean she is disconnected from others. On the contrary, this woman builds relationships with intention and depth rather than out of need or habit. She chooses companions who respect her independence and support her journey without trying to control or diminish it. Her connections are genuine and meaningful because she knows the value of healthy boundaries. She is not dependent on others for her happiness or validation, so she is free to love and support without fear or expectation. Her relationships are rooted in mutual respect and trust, not in dependency or codependence. This kind of woman is dangerous to those who mistake loneliness for weakness. She challenges the idea that a woman must always be surrounded by others to be whole or successful. Her ability to walk alone shatters the myth that women need someone else to complete them. She is complete on her own. And that completeness radiates a powerful energy that draws people toward her rather than pushing them away. People are drawn to her not because she is needy or desperate for attention, but because she embodies freedom and strength. Her independence is magnetic because it reflects self-love and self-respect. She has learned to trust her own company because she knows that ultimately she is the one who will be with herself through every high and low, every triumph and failure. Others may come and go, but she remains. That knowledge gives her an unshakable confidence, the confidence to face life's uncertainties without fear. She walks alone not because she has no one else, but because she values the power of her own presence. She is comfortable with her own thoughts and feelings, and that comfort allows her to be authentic, unfiltered, and true to herself. She doesn't need to mask her emotions or pretend to be someone she's not just to fit in or be accepted. This woman also understands the value of independence in decision-making. She doesn't rely on others to tell her what is right or wrong for her life. Done. She listens to advice, yes, but the final choice is always hers. This autonomy means she takes full responsibility for her actions and their consequences. She doesn't blame others when things go wrong, nor does she attribute her success to anyone but herself. Walking alone is about owning her path, the good and the bad. She embraces the freedom that comes with this ownership, even when it means facing uncertainty without a safety net. In a world that often pressures women to seek approval and companionship as proof of their worth, this woman stands as a powerful counter-narrative. She teaches by example that solitude is not a punishment, but a privilege, a place where one can cultivate strength, wisdom, and clarity. Her ability to walk alone is a testament to her courage to reject dependence, to embrace vulnerability, and to trust in her own power. It is a reminder that being alone is not a lack, but a choice to honor oneself above all else. She is danger because she refuses to be defined by others' expectations or fears. Her independence unsettles those who want to control her or keep her small. She won't conform to fit into someone else's idea of what a woman should be. Instead, she carves her own path, bold and unwavering. This woman is a force to be reckoned with because she has mastered the art of being alone without losing herself. She walks through life like a queen in her own right, sovereign, self-assured, and unstoppable. A woman who has failed and got back up embodies a resilience that is both rare and remarkable. Failure in her life is not a full stop, but a comma, a pause that leads to growth, learning, and a renewed sense of purpose. She understands that failure is not a reflection of her worth, but an inevitable part of the human experience, a step on the path towards success and self-discovery. This woman has faced setbacks that could have broken others, moments when the weight of disappointment and loss pressed down hard on her spirit, yet she did not let those moments define her. Instead, she used them as fuel to rise stronger, to rebuild herself piece by piece, and to keep moving forward no matter the odds. Her journey through failure is marked by courage. It takes courage to admit you have fallen, to look at your mistakes without denial or excuses. It takes even more courage to stand back up when the world may be doubting you, when the voices of critics and cynics grow loud. This woman refuses to be silenced by failure. She embraces it with honesty and grace, recognizing that every failure carries a lesson if you're willing to learn. She doesn't run from the discomfort of falling. She sits with it, learns from it, and lets it shape her into a wiser, more compassionate version of herself. In the face of failure, she cultivates patience. She knows that recovery is not instant, that healing and growth take time. There are days when the pain of what went wrong still stings, when doubt creeps in like a shadow, whispering that maybe she's not enough. But she has learned to hold space for these feelings without letting them consume her. Instead of giving in to despair, she practices self-compassion. She speaks to herself with kindness, reminding herself that setbacks do not erase her value or potential. This patience is a quiet strength that steadies her through the darkest nights, the slow rebuilding process, and the uncertainty of what lies ahead. She also understands the power of persistence. Getting back after failure is not a one-time event, but a continuous process. Some days she might stumble, lose footing, or question her path, but she refuses to give up. Each time she rises, it is a declaration that failure will not be the end of her story. Her persistence is born from a deep belief in herself and her dreams, even when circumstances suggest otherwise. This belief is not naive optimism. It's a hard-earned faith rooted in experience, resilience, and an unwavering commitment to her own growth. This woman has learned to redefine success and failure on her own terms. She doesn't measure herself by external standards or the approval of others. Instead, she honors her journey, the risks she's taken, and the lessons she's learned, and the strength she's gained. Success to her is not just about reaching a goal done. It's about the courage to keep going when the path gets rough. Failure is not the opposite of success, but a part of it, done, an essential ingredient in the recipe of achievement. This perspective frees her from the fear of failure and allows her to take bold steps, done, knowing that falling is just part of the process. Her ability to rise again after failure also teaches her humility. Done. She recognizes that she is not infallible, that she will make mistakes again, and that perfection is not the goal. This humility opens her heart to growth and connection. She becomes more empathetic toward others who struggle, more understanding of human imperfection. Her failures have made her not bitter but better, more grounded, more compassionate, more real. She wears her scars not as marks of shame, but as badges of honor, proof that she has fought hard and survived. This woman's resilience is often forged in solitude, where she faces her doubts and fears alone. Yet, she does not see this as weakness, but as an opportunity to strengthen her inner foundation. She builds a relationship herself that is unshakable, a relationship based on trust, respect, and love. When she fails, she turns inward for support and guidance rather than relying solely on others. This self-reliance empowers her to stand tall even when external support is scarce or absent. She becomes her own champion, her own source of strength and encouragement. Her story of failure and recovery inspires those around her. If people are drawn to her authenticity because she doesn't hide her struggles or pretend to be flawless. And she shares her story not to boast, but to encourage others to embrace their own failures and find the courage to rise. Her life becomes a testament to the power of resilience, a living example that falling down is not shameful. Staying down is. Her willingness to be vulnerable and honest about her journey breaks down walls, builds bridges, and creates space for healing and growth in others. She is dangerous because she refuses to be defined or defeated by failure. Her ability to rise again makes her unstoppable. Every setback is a setup for a comeback. She doesn't just survive, she thrives. She turns pain into power and hardship into wisdom. This woman embodies the truth that the greatest strength lies not in never falling, but in rising every time you fall. Her resilience is a force that shakes the foundations of doubt and fear, carving a path for herself and others to follow. A woman who speaks the truth, especially when it's hard, holds a power that many fear, but the world desperately needs. She understands that truth is not always convenient, that it often challenges comfort zones, disrupts illusions, and shakes foundations. Done. But she values honesty above all because she knows that without truth, there is no real freedom, no real progress. This woman does not speak the truth to hurt or to provoke. She speaks it to illuminate, to clarify, and to bring light where there is darkness. Done. Her words are not reckless or careless. They are deliberate, chosen with care and courage. She understands the weight of her voice and uses it responsibly, even when it costs her popularity, acceptance, or ease. Speaking truth when it is hard takes immense bravery. What you think I've done, it means standing up in rooms where others prefer silence, saying what others are afraid to say, and risking judgment or rejection. This woman does not shy away from difficult conversations or uncomfortable realities. Instead, she meets them head on with clarity and conviction. She knows that silence in the face of injustice, dishonesty, or harm only perpetuates the problem. Her truth is a weapon against complacency and denial. She is willing to be the voice that disturbs the peace because she believes peace built on lies is no peace at all. Her courage to speak honestly often inspires others to find their own voices, breaking chains of fear and silence. This woman's commitment to truth is rooted in integrity. She values authenticity, not only in herself, but in those around her. She refuses to engage in deceit, manipulation, or half-truths. For her, truth is a foundation on which trust is built. Without truth, relationships crumble, communities fracture, and progress stalls. She knows that honesty can be difficult, but it is necessary for healing and growth. Done. Her refusal to sugarcoat or evade difficult realities demonstrates respect for herself and others. She believes that people deserve the real story, even when it is painful or inconvenient. This respect for truth fosters deeper connections because it invites transparency and vulnerability. Done. Her words have power because they come from a place of wisdom and experience. She speaks not out of ignorance or arrogance, but from a deep understanding of the complexities of life. She listens carefully, considers different perspectives, and weighs her words before speaking. This discernment means her truth is not a blunt instrument, but a precise tool that cuts through confusion and falsehood. She knows when to speak loudly and when to whisper, when to confront and when to gently guide. Her truth-telling is a balance of strength and compassion, firmness and grace. It demands respect because it is not driven by ego, but by a commitment to justice, clarity, and love. This woman also understands that speaking truth can come with consequences. She is aware that honesty may alienate her from friends, family, or colleagues who prefer comfort over confrontation. She accepts that her truth might be met with resistance, anger, or dismissal. Yet, she does not allow fear of rejection to silence her. Her allegiance is first and foremost to truth itself, not to the approval of others. This willingness to risk isolation for the sake of honesty marks her as dangerous to systems built on lies or denial. She becomes a disruptor, challenging the status quo and exposing hypocrisy. In doing so, she creates space for transformation and growth that would otherwise be impossible. Her truth speaking also serves as a catalyst for personal empowerment. By voicing her own reality, she claims ownership of her story and refuses to let others rewrite it. She does not allow shame, fear, or manipulation to mute her voice. Instead, she uses her words to assert her identities, boundaries, and needs. This empowerment ripples outward, encouraging others to do the same. Her courage to speak up fosters a culture where silence is broken and honesty is valued. She models that truth-telling is not just an act of rebellion, but an act of love. Love for oneself and for the community. This woman's dedication to truth also makes her a beacon for justice. She uses her voice to highlight inequality, injustice, and oppression, refusing to turn a blind eye to suffering. Her truth-telling shines a light on uncomfortable realities that others might prefer to ignore. She amplifies the voices of the marginalized and holds the powerful accountable. Her words carry weight because they are rooted in a desire to see fairness and dignity for all. She understands that truth is a foundation for justice and that without it, change is impossible. At times, speaking the truth means being vulnerable. Done. It means admitting when she doesn't have all the answers or when she has been wrong. This humility adds to the authenticity of her voice and deepens the impact of her words. She embraces vulnerability as a strength, recognizing that invites connection and understanding. Her honesty about her own imperfections makes her truth even more compelling because it is grounded in real human experience, not in judgment or superiority. She is dangerous because she refuses to let falsehoods thrive unchecked. Her truth pierces through denial and deception, demanding recognition and response. She does not back down when confronted with lies or manipulation. Done. Her voice is a force of clarity that disrupts ignorance and complacency. In a world often clouded by misinformation and silence, done. Her commitment to speaking truth boldly challenges the comfortable and unsettles the complacent. She is a catalyst for change because truth, once spoken, cannot be ignored or undone. A woman who loves herself deeply and unapologetically possesses a strength that radiates from within, shaping every aspect of her life. This love is not superficial or conditional. It is profound and unwavering, built on a foundation of acceptance, respect, and understanding. She embraces every part of herself, the flaws, the scars, the triumphs, and the vulnerabilities, with a tenderness that refuses to be diminished by external judgments or societal standards. Done. This self-love is a revolutionary act in a world that often tells women they must earn their worth through perfection or approval from others. She rejects those messages and instead claims her value simply because she exists. Loving herself deeply means she prioritizes her own well-being and happiness without guilt or apology. She knows that self-care is not selfish but necessary for her growth and strength. She listens to her body, her mind, and her spirit, recognizing their needs and honoring them, whether it's setting boundaries, taking time to rest, or pursuing passions. She gives herself permission to nurture her soul. This care is a daily practice, a commitment to herself that sustains her through life's challenges. It is also a bold statement that she matters just as much as anyone else, and her needs deserve attention and respect. This woman does not seek validation from others to confirm her worth. She has cultivated an inner sense of value that does not fluctuate with approval or criticism. This independence of frees her from the exhausting cycle of trying to please everyone or conform to external expectations. She stands firm in her identity and choices, knowing that her happiness is her responsibility. Done. Loving herself unapologetically means she refuses to shrink herself to fit someone else's idea of who she should be. She claims her space boldly, knowing that her presence is enough. Her self-love empowers her to forgive herself for past mistakes and to embrace her imperfections without shame. She understands that being human means being flawed, and she meets her shortcomings with compassion rather than judgment. This acceptance allows her to grow while being trapped by guilt or self-criticism. She recognizes that mistakes are opportunities for learning and transformation. In this way, her self-love becomes a source of resilience, helping her bounce back from setbacks with grace and determination. This woman's love for herself also informs how she allows others to treat her. She sets clear boundaries because she knows what she deserves and refuses to accept less. She does not tolerate disrespect, manipulation, or abuse because her respect for herself is non-negotiable. This strength protects her from toxic relationships and environments. Her self-love acts as a shield that preserves her peace and dignity. It also teaches those around her how to treat her with kindness, respect, and honesty. Her unapologetic self-love is visible in the way she carries herself. There is a lightness and confidence in her posture, a calmness in her gaze, and a steadiness in her voice that speaks volumes. She doesn't need to prove herself through boastfulness or aggression. Her love for herself shines quietly but powerfully. It influences how she interacts with the world, approaching challenges with courage, embracing opportunities with enthusiasm, and facing criticism with calm assurance. Her self-love is a foundation for authentic living because it allows her to be genuine without fear of rejection. This woman also inspires by her example. Her deep for herself encourages those around her to examine their own relationships with themselves. She shows that self-love is not arrogance, but a vital form of self-respect that nourishes every other relationship. By loving herself unapologetically, she creates space for others to do the same. Her presence challenges cultural norms that equates self-love with selfishness or vanity, revealing instead that it is essential for a fulfilled and balanced life. Her self-love is a source of joy. She celebrates her achievements, honors her journey, and acknowledges her worth regularly. This celebration is not dependent on grand accomplishments, but on the simple recognition of her existence and her efforts. She finds pleasure in her own company and takes pride in who she is becoming. This joy is contagious, spreading to those around her and creating a ripple effect of positivity and empowerment. She also embraces her unique beauty, inside and out. She rejects narrow standards of attractiveness and instead finds beauty in her individuality. This acceptance of self-image extends beyond physical appearance to include her personality, talents, and quirks. She knows that true beauty is a reflection of self-love and confidence. This understanding frees her from comparison and competition, allowing her to shine in her own authentic way. Her love for self is a source of creativity and growth. Because she feels safe and supported internally, she takes risks, explores new possibilities, and pursues her passions with vigor. She is not held back by fear of failure or judgment because her sense of worth is firmly rooted within. This freedom enables her to live fully and authentically, expressing her true self in all areas of life. In loving herself deeply and unapologetically, this woman breaks cycles of doubt, shame, and insecurity. She rewrites the narrative that women must diminish themselves to be accepted or loved. Instead, she teaches that the greatest love story begins with the self, a story of acceptance, empowerment, and unshakable worth. This love is a force that transforms not only her life, but also the lives of those who witness her courage and authenticity. A woman who embraces her vulnerability as strength embodies a profound and transformative kind of power. In a world that often equates vulnerability with weakness, she understands that it is actually the birthplace of courage, authenticity, and deep connection. She does not hide her emotions or fears out of shame or fear of judgment. Instead, she allows herself to be seen fully. Her joys, her struggles, her uncertainties, knowing that true strength lies in the willingness to be real and open. This woman's vulnerability is not a flaw to be concealed, but a gateway to healing and growth. She recognized that vulnerability requires bravery. It means stepping into the unknown without guarantees, exposing parts of herself that are tender and raw. This openness is not reckless. It is a conscious choice to live honestly and fully. When she shares her fears or admits her mistakes, she models what it means to be human without pretense. Her courage to be vulnerable challenges the stigma around showing emotions and encourages others to do the same. In her vulnerability, she creates safe spaces where others can drop their masks and embrace their own truths. This woman's vulnerability deepens her relationships. By being honest about her struggles and feelings, she invites genuine connection. People are drawn to her authenticity because it resonates with their own experiences and needs. She does not shy away from difficult conversations or uncomfortable emotions. She meets them with empathy and openness. Her vulnerability fosters trust and intimacy, building bonds that are resilient and meaningful. In allowing herself to be seen, she honors the shared humanity that connects us all. Her acceptance of vulnerability also brings self-compassion. She understands that being open about her imperfections does not diminish her worth. Instead, it strengthens her self-awareness and self-acceptance. She meets her own pain and uncertainty with kindness rather than judgment. This compassion creates a foundation of inner peace and resilience that helps her navigate life's challenges. Her vulnerability is intertwined with strength because it requires her to confront difficult emotions without turning away. She also recognizes that vulnerability is essential for growth and transformation. It is through facing her fears and uncertainties that she learns, evolves, and expands her capacity for love and understanding. This woman embraces change even when it feels uncomfortable or frightening, because she knows that growth often requires stepping outside of comfort zones. Her willingness to be vulnerable allows her to take risks, to dream bigger, and to pursue her passions with openness. She does not let the fear of failure or rejection hold her back, because she values authenticity above safety. This woman's vulnerability is a source of creativity. When she allows herself to be open to her feelings and experiences, she taps into a wellspring of inspiration and innovation. She does not fear expressing her true self through art, words, or actions. Her vulnerability makes her work resonate deeply with others because it is genuine and heartfelt. She knows that vulnerability connects people on a fundamental level and creates shared understanding. Through her creative expression, she invites others to explore their own vulnerabilities and strengths. She also embraces vulnerability in leadership. Rather than presenting herself as infallible or detached, she leads with honesty and openness. This approach inspires trust and loyalty because it humanizes her and makes her approachable. She acknowledges when she does not have all the answers and welcomes collaboration and feedback. Her vulnerability in leadership creates a culture of authenticity and mutual respect. It challenges traditional notions of power that equate strength with control and invulnerability. This woman is aware that vulnerability carries risks. She knows that opening herself up can lead to disappointment, misunderstanding, or rejection. Yet, she chooses to be vulnerable because the rewards, connection, growth, authenticity, are worth the risk. She refuses to armor herself in a facade of perfection or invincibility. Instead, she embraces her humanity fully, knowing that true strength comes from embracing all aspects of herself. Her vulnerability is an act of defiance against a culture that often values stoicism over sincerity. Her vulnerability also enriches her capacity for empathy. By being open about her own struggles and emotions, she becomes more attuned to the experiences of others. She listens deeply and responds with compassion because she recognizes the pain and courage it takes to be vulnerable. This empathy strengthens her relationships and community ties. It allows her to support others in their journeys and to foster environments where vulnerability is honored rather than shamed. In embracing vulnerability, this woman rewrites the narrative of what it means to be strong. She shows that strength is not about hiding pain or pretending to be invincible, but about embracing truth and connection. Her vulnerability is a source of power that enables her to live authentically, love deeply, and lead courageously. It breaks down barriers and builds bridges, creating a path toward healing and wholeness. She is dangerous because her vulnerability disarms pretenses and exposes falsehoods. It challenges those who equate strength with domination or emotional repression. Her openness unsettles systems built on fear and control, making space for honesty and transformation. This woman's willingness to be vulnerable is a revolutionary act, a bold declaration that to be truly strong, one must be willing to be seen in all their humanity. Thank you.